The courtroom in Bend, Oregon, felt like it was holding its breath. Mahogany benches stretched in neat rows, every seat occupied by reporters, locals, and legal professionals leaning forward with hushed anticipation. The only sound was the faint creaking of old wood and the rhythmic ticking of the clock on the back wall. It was a late morning in May, but the air inside was strangely cold, tense, like static just before a storm. Judge Harold Brenner adjusted his glasses and surveyed the room from his high bench. At 68, he was a veteran of hundreds of trials, his lined face carved from years of observing guilt, grief, and justice. But today, something unsettled him. This wasn't a typical day in court. This wasn't a typical case. All eyes turned as the side door opened, and a small girl entered, holding tightly to a thick black leash. Her presence seemed to fracture the silence. Lily Monroe was 6 years old, barely reaching the waist of the bailiff who gently guided her in. She wore a pale yellow dress with white sandals, her curly brown hair pulled into loose pigtails. Her face was pale but calm, her green eyes wide as she scanned the sea of strangers. Beside her walked a German shepherd unlike any the court had seen. Large, muscular, and bearing a deep jagged scar down his right side, the dog moved with silent confidence. His black and sable coat gleamed under the lights, and his ears twitched with every shuffle and cough in the room. His name was Valor. They made their way to the witness stand, each step measured, the leash a lifeline between them. The girl's hand never wavered. She didn't speak. She hadn't spoken in weeks. From the defense table, Thomas Greaves watched her. Clean-shaven, mid-40s, with horn-rimmed glasses and a gray suit, he looked every bit the respectable software engineer. But his eyes narrowed for a fraction of a second, and his jaw flexed. No one noticed. Except Valor. Judge Brenner leaned forward slightly, his fingers laced together beneath his chin. He studied the girl as she settled onto the witness chair, Valor sitting at her feet like a statue. The courtroom was still, but the weight of what hung in the air was suffocating. This wasn't just any case. This was a trial that could determine the future safety of dozens of children in Bend, and perhaps beyond. Lily Monroe was the only known eyewitness to an attempted abduction. An abduction that, if completed, could have made her the fifth child to vanish in the area within 18 months. But her case was different. Lily escaped. And everyone believed she could identify the man responsible. The problem was, she hadn't spoken a word since it happened. The prosecution was building its case on circumstantial evidence, a black van, a partial license plate, and one neighbor's testimony. No fingerprints, no DNA, no confession. Without Lily's voice, the case was fragile. And Thomas Greaves knew it. Sitting confidently beside his attorney, Peter Langston, Greaves looked calm, too calm. He adjusted his tie, eyes cool, fingers tapping a slow rhythm on the polished wood of the defense table. He'd already claimed innocence. His legal team argued that he'd never been near the Monroe residence that day. No cameras had caught him. His alibi was vague but intact. Without direct identification from Lily, it was his word against shadows. Langston had already planned the strategy: discredit the memory of a traumatized child, raise doubt about her reliability, and paint the whole thing as a tragic misunderstanding. The jury listened with furrowed brows and cautious expressions. Judge Brenner had seen it before, cases balanced on the edge of a single testimony. But Lily wasn't just a witness. She was a child whose voice had been stolen by fear. And the man accused of taking it sat calmly in a courtroom, watching her like he had nothing to lose. Everyone knew the stakes. Only Lily, and the dog beside her, held the truth. As Lily settled into the high-backed wooden chair, her small hands clenched the leash so tightly her knuckles turned white. Valor sat directly beside her, pressed gently against her leg. His eyes, sharp and alert, scanned the courtroom like a seasoned sentry. Judge Brenner adjusted his robe and nodded to the bailiff to begin proceedings. The soft rustle of papers and the scratch of pens resumed, but the room remained painfully quiet. Then, without warning, something changed. Lily's gaze shifted. Her green eyes locked onto Thomas Greaves across the room. Her breathing became shallow, almost imperceptible. Slowly, she raised her right hand, just a few inches, and made a small, almost invisible movement with her fingers. A twitch, a pattern. Not random. Intentional. It was subtle, but not meaningless. Valor reacted instantly. His ears shot forward. The muscles in his broad shoulders tensed, his posture shifting from relaxed to rigid. A low, guttural growl began to rise from deep within his chest, soft at first, then fuller, vibrating against the floorboards. He stared directly at Greaves, unmoving. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Greaves blinked and shifted in his seat. His fingers paused mid-tap. For the first time, a flicker of discomfort passed over his face. Judge Brenner's gavel came down with a sharp crack that echoed like thunder. "This court will take a 15-minute recess," he announced, his voice tight. "Now." Prosecutor Dana Kim turned toward the bench, confused, but the judge didn't meet her eyes. His attention remained fixed on Lily and the dog beside her. He had seen something. Felt something. Valor's growl hadn't been fear. It hadn't been confusion. It had been recognition. And that changed everything. The day it all began had started like any other. It was the first warm afternoon of spring in Bend, Oregon. The snowmelt had cleared the sidewalks, and the scent of pine and blooming dogwoods drifted lazily through the air. Rachel Monroe stood at the kitchen window of their small craftsman-style house, sipping from a chipped coffee mug and watching her daughter dance barefoot in the backyard. Lily's yellow dress flared as she twirled, her pigtails bouncing with every spin. She sang to herself, a mix of fairy tales and nonsense rhymes, while pretending the oak tree was a castle and her stuffed bunny, Clover, was a noble knight. Her laughter drifted through the open window like music, soft and sweet. Rachel smiled. It had been a long winter, and seeing Lily so full of joy felt like the beginning of something good again. She was just starting to consider whether to begin dinner or wait for her husband to get home when her phone buzzed on the counter. It was her sister calling from Portland, just a quick check-in. "I'll be right back," Rachel called out, stepping inside and leaving the screen door ajar behind her. It was meant to be a minute. Maybe two. Outside, the wind stirred slightly, pushing the swing on the old tree just enough to creak. Lily stopped spinning and looked toward the gate at the side of the yard. It had been left unlatched, swinging slightly with the breeze. Beyond it, the sidewalk glimmered in the sunlight. And beside it, unnoticed until now, sat a black van idling at the curb. She tilted her head. And then, a man appeared. He stepped casually out of the van, dressed in dark jeans and a light blue collared shirt. His face was clean-shaven, ordinary, and unremarkable, almost friendly. He wore the easy smile of someone who had practiced it in the mirror. "Hey there," he said, crouching down a few feet from the gate, his voice smooth and calm. "That's a nice bunny you've got. I've got some just like him in my van, real ones. Little fluffy puppies. You wanna come see?" Lily stared at him. Her hands clutched Clover a little tighter, her feet frozen in place. Something in his voice didn't match his smile. She didn't know what it was, but her stomach felt tight. He opened the side door of the van just a crack, revealing a dim interior with a blanket-covered floor and what looked like a stuffed animal lying on its side. "They're special puppies," he added. "They need someone just like you to take care of them. You like animals, don't you?" Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Then, a voice sliced through the yard like a blade. "Lily." The man's head snapped toward the house. His smile vanished. Rachel stood on the back step, her phone forgotten in her hand, her eyes wide with panic. For a moment, everything paused. Then the man lunged forward, grabbing Lily by the arm. She didn't scream. She didn't fight. She just stared up at him, frozen, her body stiff with fear. Across the street, Agnes Porter had been walking her terrier and saw the entire thing unfold. Her voice, raspy with age but fierce with outrage, rang out. "Hey! Get away from that child!" The man hesitated. His grip loosened just enough. Lily yanked her arm free and ran. Rachel caught her halfway across the yard, lifting her into her arms as the van door slammed shut and tires squealed against pavement. The vehicle sped off, leaving nothing but black skid marks and the ghost of a smile that hadn't meant safety, it had meant danger. Rachel held Lily so tightly it felt like she was trying to press her daughter back into her body, back into safety. Her heart pounded so loudly she couldn't hear anything else, not the retreating van, not the barking dog across the street, not even her own sobs. But Lily didn't cry. She didn't say a word. She buried her face into her mother's shoulder, arms wrapped tightly around Clover, and trembled like a leaf caught in the wind. The police arrived within minutes. Detective Marcus Hayes, a senior FBI agent from the Missing Children Task Force, took control of the scene with quiet authority. He was a tall man with a weathered face and a voice that didn't rise or fall. He had seen too many cases like this. Rachel recounted what she could. Agnes confirmed what she had seen, providing a partial license plate and a shaky description. The van. The man's voice. His hand on Lily's arm. When Agent Hayes knelt to speak to Lily, his voice softened. "Sweetheart, can you tell me what he looked like?" Lily stared at him, her eyes glassy and distant. She didn't blink. She didn't move. Rachel smoothed her daughter's hair. "It's okay, baby. He's here to help." But Lily gave no response. That night, she refused to eat. She sat curled on the couch, silent, staring out the window as if expecting the van to return. Days passed. Then a week. The doctors called it selective mutism, a trauma response. Her mind had shut a door and thrown away the key. Rachel tried everything, her favorite songs, bedtime stories, her stuffed animals arranged in a perfect row. But nothing reached Lily. She didn't play. She didn't sing. She didn't even hum. She only held Clover close and flinched every time a car passed by the house. The girl who used to fill rooms with laughter had vanished. And in her place was silence. Cold, complete, and unbreakable. The therapy center sat on the edge of Bend, nestled near the forest where the pine trees began to thicken and the city noises faded away. The sign out front read North Star Animal Assisted Healing, its letters carved into old cedar wood. Rachel parked slowly, eyeing the building with a mixture of hope and weariness. Inside, the walls were warm with soft earth tones, photographs of children and animals hung in gentle frames. A large Labrador wandered down the hallway with a volunteer, its tail swaying lazily. Dr. Elise Bowman greeted them with a calm, steady presence. In her mid-40s, she had an easy confidence, her auburn hair tucked into a loose bun and faint lines around her eyes that hinted at years of patience. She knelt to Lily's eye level, but didn't speak right away. She simply smiled. Lily clung to Rachel's leg, eyes wide and unsure. Rachel offered a quiet explanation. "She hasn't spoken since it happened. I've taken her to 2 child psychologists. Nothing's worked. They said maybe an animal connection would help." Elise nodded. "Sometimes when words are lost, trust can still find its way through other means. We don't push. We let them come to us." Slowly. She stood and gestured down the"There's someone I'd like her to meet. He's a little different. But sometimes the ones who've been hurt the most are the ones who know how to help. Rachel took Lily's hand. Neither of them had any idea how much that meeting was about to change everything. The room Elise led them into was quiet and filled with natural light. A wide window overlooked the tree lane beyond, where the early spring sun filtered through tall evergreens. A soft rug covered the wooden floor, and in the corner sat a large orthopedic bed with a thick fleece blanket. There, lying still but alert, was a German shepherd. He lifted his head as they entered, his dark eyes assessing, calm but sharp. His coat was black and sable, thick and well-groomed, but on his right flank ran a long, jagged scar, the hair never fully grown back. It cut across his side like a reminder of something violent. Something survived. "This is Valor," Elise said quietly. "He's 7. Used to be a K-9 officer in the army. He was injured during a rescue mission 3 years ago. Took a blade that wasn't meant for him. He saved a child's life that night." Rachel's breath caught. Lily remained silent, barely peeking from behind her mother's arm. "He's been with us since he was retired. He's careful, gentle, and very, very good at knowing when someone needs space. Or company." Elise turned to the girl. "Lily, you don't have to do anything. Valor won't come unless you want him to." The dog didn't move. His head stayed resting on his front paws, ears forward, eyes steady. Watching. Waiting. Lily stared at him for a long time. Then, slowly, she stepped away from her mother. 1 step. 2. Then another. She knelt on the rug, her small hand hovering in the air. Valor didn't approach. Elise gave a single quiet nod. At that cue, the German shepherd slowly lifted himself from the bed. He moved forward, not rushed, not eager, just steady. Deliberate. With a calmness that spoke of training, yes, but more than that, empathy. When he reached Lily, he paused. Lily extended her hand, trembling slightly. And Valor leaned forward, and pressed his nose into her palm. A breath escaped Rachel's lips. A silent gasp. Lily didn't speak. But she didn't pull away either. Instead, for the first time in weeks, she stayed. In the days that followed, Lily returned to North Star once a week. Each time, the routine was the same. Rachel would drive them through the quiet roads on the edge of town, Lily sitting in the back seat, her hands wrapped tightly around Clover. She still didn't speak, but something in her posture had shifted, less rigid, more aware. As though something inside her had been stirred, but not yet woken. Valor was always waiting. He never barked. Never rushed her. He would simply sit near her during sessions, his body relaxed but present, his eyes occasionally flicking toward her as if checking in. Lily began to draw again, first vague shapes, then recognizable ones. Dogs. Trees. A girl with brown hair and a yellow dress, always standing beside a black and sable German shepherd with a scar. Elise watched the transformation unfold without interfering. She knew this kind of healing couldn't be forced. It had to rise slowly, like spring thaw after a brutal winter. At home, Lily began spending hours lying next to Valor on the floor. Rachel noticed she flinched less at the sound of passing cars. She even began sleeping through the night, her nightmares replaced by Valor's steady breathing at the foot of her bed. Then, one afternoon, something changed. It was just Elise, Lily, and Valor in the therapy room. Lily was watching as Valor followed a simple hand command, sitting on cue. Elise clapped her hands gently. "Good boy, Valor." Lily's eyes lit up for a moment. Then she whispered it. "Good boy." It was barely audible, like wind rustling leaves, but Elise heard it. She turned her head slowly, not wanting to startle the moment. Rachel, watching from behind the one-way mirror, covered her mouth with both hands, tears filling her eyes. Lily looked stunned by her own voice, as though unsure it had really come from her. Valor didn't react with excitement. He simply leaned his head gently into her shoulder and stayed there, warm and steady. That night, Lily whispered the words again as she fell asleep beside him. "Good boy." Just 2 words. But it was a beginning. And beginnings are powerful things. "All rise." The bailiff's voice rang out as Judge Harold Brenner entered the courtroom, his robe trailing behind him like a shadow. The room stood in silence until he took his seat at the bench. The tension was thicker than ever. Before the main testimony could begin, the issue of Valor's presence had to be addressed. Defense attorney Peter Langston stood smoothly, buttoning his charcoal gray suit. "Your Honor," he began, voice calm but clipped, "we acknowledge the child's difficult experience. However, allowing a large German Shepherd to remain at the witness stand poses a serious risk of bias. His presence may evoke sympathy in the jury and prejudice my client, Mr. Greaves." Greaves sat motionless, hands folded, his face unreadable. Langston continued, "We respectfully request that the dog be removed during testimony." Prosecutor Dana Kim rose without hesitation. "Your Honor, Lily Monroe has been diagnosed with selective mutism by 2 independent child psychologists. She is not here for dramatic effect, she is here because she is the sole eyewitness. The therapy dog's presence is medically necessary for her to participate in these proceedings without relapsing into silence." The judge listened, his hands steepled beneath his chin. After a moment, he opened a folder beside him. "I've reviewed the documentation from Dr. Elise Bowman and the psychologists. The child has shown measurable signs of stress reduction in the presence of the animal. Furthermore, the dog has been evaluated and poses no disruption." He looked between the attorneys. "Valor stays." A ripple moved through the courtroom, some murmured in approval, others in protest. Langston pressed his lips together but said nothing more. Lily sat quietly beside Valor, her fingers wrapped in his fur, unmoved by the legal posturing around her. For her, this wasn't about legal rights. It was about holding on to the only thing that made her feel safe. The prosecution began methodically, laying the groundwork piece by piece. Dana Kim, standing with quiet intensity, presented the jury with photos of the Monroe backyard, the latch on the gate, the black skid marks still etched on the pavement. She recounted the timeline: Rachel's phone call, Lily's sudden silence, the neighbor's intervention. Then came the first witness, Agnes Porter, the retired nurse from across the street. She walked slowly to the stand, gripping her purse with both hands, her voice trembling only slightly. "I saw the van," she said. "It was parked right near the curb. I saw the man crouching beside Lily. He had one hand on her arm. He looked up at me when I yelled. And then he ran." Dana nodded. "Can you describe the man you saw?" "Mid-40s. Light shirt. Average build. No hat. I saw his face clearly." She glanced toward the defense table and pointed. "It was him. That man. Thomas Greaves." There was a murmur in the gallery. Langston objected, citing the unreliability of eyewitness testimony in high-stress situations, but Judge Brenner overruled him. The next few witnesses were quieter: officers who responded to the call, forensic analysts who confirmed the tire marks matched Greaves' van model. But without DNA, without fingerprints, everything felt circumstantial. Greaves remained passive, taking notes, occasionally whispering to Langston. He looked calm, even bored. Lily sat through it all, silent but watchful, Valor's body warm against her side. Each time a photo was shown or a voice raised, her grip on his fur tightened. She hadn't spoken a word in court. But she was listening. And something inside her was stirring. It happened during the second day of testimony. Lily had been led gently to the witness stand by a child advocate, her small figure dwarfed by the high-backed chair. Rachel watched from the front row, fingers clenched in her lap. Valor took his place beside Lily without hesitation, curling against her feet, alert and unmoving. Dana Kim approached slowly, her voice low and steady. "Lily, I know this is hard. You don't have to speak. If you feel uncomfortable, you can just nod or point. We're here to help you." Lily didn't lift her head. Her eyes remained focused on the table. "Can you tell us, was the man who came into your yard that day in this room right now?" The courtroom held its breath. Lily's hand moved. A subtle flick of her fingers. Barely noticeable, unless you were looking for it. But Valor saw. His head lifted, ears pricked forward. The change in his posture was instant. His muscles tensed, tail still, eyes narrowing. A low growl began to rise from his chest, deep and deliberate. Greaves stiffened in his seat. Judge Brenner leaned forward sharply, his eyes narrowing. "Miss Kim," he said, voice taut, "has this dog ever been in contact with the defendant before?" Dana blinked. "Not to my knowledge, Your Honor." Valor's growl deepened, unwavering. The courtroom buzzed with hushed voices. Langston rose again, shouting objection. "This is theatrical, unreliable." But Judge Brenner didn't respond to him. He was watching the dog. Watching the girl. Watching the quiet language that passed between them. Because Lily had spoken, without a word. And the dog had answered. Special Agent Marcus Hayes stood just outside the courtroom doors, arms crossed as he watched the chaos ripple through the hallway. Reporters whispered into phones, attorneys huddled in tense clusters, and the bailiff's voice echoed faintly from within. But Hayes wasn't listening to any of it. His mind was on the dog. Valor's reaction hadn't been coincidence. Hayes had worked with canines for over 20 years, search and rescue, narcotics, explosives, body recovery. He knew what a trained alert looked like. And what he saw in that courtroom wasn't performance. It was instinct. He pulled out his phone and called the evidence technician overseeing the van forensics. "I want that soil from Greaves' tires tested again," he said. "Specifically for organic markers, decomposed matter, plant life, minerals. Look for anything that ties him to woodland terrain." The voice on the other end hesitated. "You think there's a dump site?" Hayes glanced through the glass window at Lily, who sat curled against Valor like a shadow. "I think there's more than we've seen," he said. "And that dog knows it." He ended the call and opened his leather-bound notebook. 4 children missing. 18 months. All from neighborhoods just like Lily's. The pattern had always been loose, too scattered to stick, until now. If Greaves had been to a location remote enough, secluded enough, the soil from his van could point them there. And if that dog had picked up a scent. Hayes closed the notebook and walked with purpose back toward the courtroom. Valor hadn't just recognized fear. He had recognized someone. Now it was time to find out where. Behind the closed doors of the defense conference room, the air was thick with tension. Thomas Greaves sat stiffly at the table, no longer calm. His fingers no longer tapped the wood. Instead, they curled into fists in his lap, his jaw tight. The reaction from the courtroom, the dog's growl, the girl's silent signal, had shaken something loose in him. Something he couldn't hide. Peter Langston leaned over the table, voice low but sharp. "What the hell was that in there?" Greaves didn't respond. Langston slapped a folder closed. "You told me you had no contact with that child. No link to the dog. No proximity to the neighborhood. That was your entire defense. Now the girl points at you, the dog reacts like you're holding a weapon, and I'm out there arguing this is a coincidence." Greaves gave a tight, forced smile. "The girl's traumatized. The dog is a prop. This'll pass." Langston's eyes narrowed. "You're sure about that?" Greaves didn't answer. Langston took a slow breath and leaned back. "Because if there's something you haven't told me, if there's a property, a cabin, anything, now is the time. They're analyzing the soil samples from your tires. If they find a location..." Greaves cut him off. "They won't." But his voice wavered, just a little. Langston stared at him a moment longer, then picked up his notes and headed for the door. "Then let's hope to hell you're right." Left alone, Greaves sat still for several seconds, then ran a hand over his face. His eyes flicked toward the closed door. For the first time, his expression shifted, not toward guilt or regret, but fear. Not of the prosecution. Not of the jury. Of the dog. And what it might lead them to. The results came back just before midnight. Agent Hayes stood in the sterile glow of the evidence lab, scanning the report in his hands. His jaw tightened as he reached the final page. Soil samples from the tires of Greaves' van weren't just generic woodland earth, they contained high concentrations of decayed cedar mulch, unique lichen spores, and a trace compound found in the volcanic rock common to the Deschutes National Forest region. A specific area, rarely visited. Remote. Isolated. Exactly the kind of place someone might go if they wanted to disappear, or make someone else disappear. Hayes picked up the phone and called Prosecutor Dana Kim. "Do you know of any property Greaves owns outside Bend?" he asked. There was a pause. Then, "No. Nothing in his name. Have your team check aliases, shell companies, even abandoned rentals." She was already moving. "You think this connects to the missing kids?" "I think it connects to something. And the dog's not reacting to coincidence." By early morning, a match was found. A cabin. Rented 2 years ago under the name of a dissolved LLC tied to a burner phone number, one linked to calls made in the area during the disappearances. Judge Brenner was notified before court reconvened. Inside the courthouse, Kim stood before the bench, the report in her hand, her voice steady. "Your Honor, we respectfully request a 24-hour recess. New evidence has emerged that may lead to physical proof tying the defendant to other victims, and may explain the therapy dog's reaction." Langston objected furiously, calling it a stall tactic. But Judge Brenner had already made up his mind. "Motion granted," he said. "Court is adjourned until tomorrow." And as the gavel struck, Valor, seated quietly beside Lily, opened his eyes. He was ready. The narrow dirt road wound deep into the Deschutes National Forest, the canopy above casting a shadowy green veil over the path. The further they drove, the more civilization fell away, no cell service, no street signs, just towering pines and the quiet hush of wind through needles. Agent Hayes sat in the lead vehicle, staring out the windshield, the GPS tracking the coordinates of the cabin linked to Greaves' shell company. In the back seat, Valor sat upright, head near the window, nose twitching with focused intensity. Rachel had agreed to let Lily stay behind at the courthouse under careful supervision. She knew this wasn't a place for her daughter. But Valor had come, at Hayes's request. Hayes trusted instincts. And he trusted dogs that had earned their scars. Behind them, 2 SUVs carried tactical officers, forensic analysts, and a medic. No one knew what they'd find, but everyone understood the stakes. The cabin came into view just before noon. It sat slanted on a moss-covered foundation, the wood faded gray, the windows dusted with grime. The area was silent, too silent. No birds. No insects. Just the sound of tires crunching over dirt and brakes hissing to a stop. Hayes stepped out first. Valor jumped down beside him, his body immediately shifting. His nose worked the air, and his ears pricked forward, every muscle on alert. The dog didn't bark. But he didn't move toward the cabin either. Instead, he began to circle the perimeter, low and slow, pausing every few feet to sniff the ground. Then he stopped, near the back of the house, his tail stiff, his eyes locked on a single point. Hayes followed the gaze. "Something's here," he muttered. The silence answered back like a whisper. Something was waiting. The cabin's exterior gave little away, just rotting wood and sagging steps, a forgotten structure swallowed by trees. But inside, the air shifted. It was colder, heavier, and carried the faint, musty trace of mildew and something more unsettling, something metallic, like rust, or old blood. Hayes stepped through the doorway, flashlight in hand, sweeping across the main room. A rickety table, an overturned chair, dusty canned goods stacked in a corner. Nothing fresh. Nothing lived in. Clear upstairs, one officer called from behind. But Hayes wasn't listening. His eyes had landed on the floorboards near the back wall. One plank looked newer than the others, lighter, slightly warped at the edge. The space between boards was uneven, and there were faint drag marks nearby, as if something had been moved across them multiple times. "Bring the crowbar," he said quietly. The officers worked quickly, prying up the floorboard. It came loose with a groan, revealing a small square opening, just wide enough for a person to squeeze through. A narrow set of wooden steps led downward, swallowed by darkness. The smell hit them first, dampness, rot, and the unmistakable stench of human presence. They descended slowly, weapons raised, flashlights cutting through the gloom. What they found beneath the cabin silenced them. Along the basement walls were scattered remnants, small shoes, faded clothes, a crumpled drawing, a child's pink backpack covered in dust. And in the farthest corner, barely visible, was a small figure. A girl. Pale. Thin. Her wrists were chained to the wall, her head slumped forward. But when the light reached her eyes, they fluttered open. She was alive. "Jesus," one officer whispered. Hayes stepped forward, heart pounding. "Get the medic. Now." Valor whined softly, pressing his nose against the cold ground. They had found her. But the nightmare wasn't over yet. The girl blinked slowly, her eyes adjusting to the light, lips cracked and trembling. She was no older than 8, her hair matted, cheeks sunken from hunger. Her voice came out as barely a whisper. "Help." Agent Hayes dropped to his knees beside her. "You're safe now. We've got you." He unclipped the small key ring from his belt, fumbling only slightly as he unlocked the rusted chain around her wrists. Her skin was raw beneath the metal. Valor moved in close, his body low, tail gently swaying. The girl stared at him, then reached out with a trembling hand. The moment she touched his fur, she let out a sound, half sob, half sigh, as though the warmth grounded her. Hayes lifted her carefully into his arms. She was light as a feather, her body shaking against his chest. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Emma," she rasped. "Emma Walsh." Hayes felt his heart seize. She'd been missing for 6 months. The radios crackled to life as officers relayed the code, "Child recovered. Alive." A medic rushed down the steps as Valor stood guard, never taking his eyes off her. They had found a survivor. And now, the world would know the truth. The courtroom was packed. Word of Emma Walsh's rescue had spread overnight like wildfire, igniting a media frenzy. News vans lined the courthouse steps, reporters crowding the entrance, their voices hushed with anticipation. Inside, every seat was filled, journalists, community members, law enforcement officers, and families of the other missing children. Thomas Greaves sat at the defense table, visibly changed. His confident posture had withered. He no longer tapped the table. His eyes were sunken, jaw clenched. For the first time since the trial began, he looked cornered. Judge Brenner entered without ceremony, his robe flowing like a curtain closing over an old act. He took his seat and looked directly at Prosecutor Dana Kim. "You may proceed." Kim rose, holding a thick folder in one hand. "Your Honor, the prosecution would like to introduce new physical evidence recovered during the recess." She passed a series of documents to the bailiff, who distributed them to the jury and the judge. Yesterday, investigators followed a lead based on forensic soil samples found in the defendant's vehicle. These samples matched the terrain surrounding a remote cabin in Deschutes National Forest, registered to a shell company traced to Mr. Greaves. She took a deep breath. "In that cabin, we discovered a hidden basement. Inside, we found 8-year-old Emma Walsh, alive, chained, malnourished, and positively identified through DNA and dental records. She had been missing for 6 months." Gasps swept through the courtroom. Kim didn't pause. "Emma has identified the defendant by name. In addition, his DNA was found on the chains used to restrain her. The tire treads at the scene match his vehicle. And his cell phone pinged a tower 3 miles from the site on the night of her disappearance." Judge Brenner's gaze darkened. Peter Langston stood, his voice taut with desperation. "Your Honor, we request time to verify the validity of these claims." Kim cut in. "You'll have that time during sentencing. The evidence is undeniable." At the witness stand, Lily sat still, Valor pressed against her. She didn't flinch. Didn't look away. She didn't need to. Emma had spoken for her now. And the weight of silence had finally shifted. Silence draped the courtroom like a heavy curtain. Judge Brenner hadn't spoken since the last piece of evidence had been admitted. The jury sat frozen, jaws clenched, papers forgotten in their laps. No one moved. No one breathed loudly. The revelation of Emma Walsh's survival had transformed the entire tone of the trial. What had once seemed circumstantial was now undeniable. And then, Valor moved. He stood slowly from his position beside Lily, his ears tilting forward, head lifted. His eyes locked onto Thomas Greaves. It wasn't a casual glance. It was recognition. Deliberate. Intense. Fixed. Greaves noticed it too. His hands, previously folded in a pretense of calm, now gripped the edge of the defense table so hard his knuckles whitened. His jaw flexed again, but this time, it didn't hold. Valor took one slow step forward. Then another. The courtroom didn't stir, mesmerized by the movement. And then, a sound. Low. Deep. A growl that vibrated from Valor's chest like thunder rolling in the distance. It wasn't angry. It wasn't uncontrolled. It was a warning, measured and unmistakable. Greaves recoiled. That was the moment everything shattered. Gasps erupted from the gallery. Someone whispered, "He knows." Others murmured prayers or disbelief, but the only sound that mattered was Valor's growl, guttural, primal, focused with laser precision on the man accused of stealing children from their homes. Judge Brenner leaned forward. "Mr. Greaves," he said, voice cold, "have you encountered this dog before?" Greaves didn't answer. Valor growled again. Then, in a whisper barely audible, Greaves spoke. "I want to change my plea." Every head turned. Langston's face drained of color. "Thomas, don't." "I said I want to change my plea," Greaves repeated, louder this time, his voice breaking. "Guilty." The courtroom burst into noise, cries, exclamations, reporters scrambling for their phones. But at the center of it all, Lily remained still, her hand resting calmly on Valor's back. He had never left her side. And now, the truth had finally spoken, through a growl that shattered silence more powerfully than any word ever could. The crowd had dispersed, the reporters gone, their microphones packed away. Judge Brenner had retired to chambers. The jury had been dismissed. And Thomas Greaves, now officially sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, had been escorted out in handcuffs, his eyes hollow, the final crack in his facade exposed. But in one quiet corner of the room, Lily Monroe remained. She sat on the edge of the witness chair, her legs dangling, swinging gently. The gold light of the afternoon sun streamed through the high windows, catching in her hair and warming the wooden floor. Valor sat beside her, his head resting gently on her lap, eyes closed but ears still listening. Rachel stood nearby, hands clasped, silent tears slipping down her cheeks. Everything had changed. They had found Emma. They had brought Greaves to justice. The other families now had hope where none had existed. And Lily had made it through without saying a single word. Until now. She leaned down, resting her forehead against Valor's. Her voice, soft but steady, emerged like a ripple across still water. "Thank you for not leaving me." Rachel gasped. Not from shock, but from joy. Valor lifted his head and gently licked Lily's cheek, his tail giving a single, slow wag. It wasn't excitement, it was acknowledgement. A silent answer in the language they had always shared. Rachel stepped forward and knelt beside them, wrapping her arms around her daughter. "You came back," she whispered. Lily nodded, her hand still resting on Valor's scar. Outside, the world moved on, cars passed, lives continued. But inside that quiet courtroom, something sacred had been restored. A voice returned. A bond endured. And even in the darkest corners of fear, love had stood guard. On 4 steady legs.